Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Placing Your Media Strategy in the Right Context with Programmatic. My name is Amanda Benavides, and I'm part of the marketing team here at StackAdapt. Before getting started, we just have some housekeeping items to cover, and then we can get the webinar underway. We're happy to field any questions you might have on any of the content. Please feel free to place them in the questions area of the GoToWebinar panel. We'll address all questions at the end of our session during the Q&A. If there are any other questions we're not able to address in the allotted time, we'll follow up directly after the webinar. Just a quick note, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared shortly after we end. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Allie to get us started.
Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. Let's jump right in. So like Amanda just said, my name is Allie Schaefer, and I'm an account manager team lead here at StackAdapt. I'm very excited to be here with all of you today to discuss contextual advertising and how you can integrate this technology into your media plans. So first, I wanted to go over and review some background information on StackAdapt itself. So StackAdapt is a self-serve programmatic advertising platform used by the most exceptional digital marketers. This state-of-the-art platform is where some of the most progressive work in machine learning meets cutting-edge user experience. Ad buyers plan, execute, and manage data-driven digital advertising campaigns across all devices, inventory, and publisher partners. You can now see what we will be covering in today's webinar. We will start with contextualizing the programmatic landscape, then talk about how contextual advertising works. Next, we will cover campaign strategy and planning, creative examples in context, and an overview of contextual targeting in StackAdapt. Lastly, like Amanda said, we will wrap up with Q&A. So let's get started with contextualizing the programmatic landscape. When it comes to programmatic, there are two main buckets in terms of the types of targeting. The first one is behavioral, which can be related to cookies, and it focuses on serving ads that are relevant to the user visiting a web page, usually based on the user's web browsing behavior. We are all familiar with this type of targeting, and it continues to be a valuable approach which is related directly to a user. The type of targeting we will review today is contextual. This is based on the context of the content on the web page where the advertisement appears and aligns with what the user is searching, viewing, or reading. This type of targeting is cookieless and focuses on the piece of content that you are placing an ad on rather than the user itself. As the eventual fate of the cookie continues to be unclear, it is essential to test solutions like contextual in your marketing plans. You can see here on the screen the definition of contextual on this slide. Merriam-Webster defines context as what now most commonly refers to the environment or setting in which something, whether words or events, exists. When we say that something is contextualized, we mean that it is placed in an appropriate setting, one in which it may be properly considered. And this is definitely the case with contextual targeting. When thinking back on the basics of advertising, where you place your message is as equally as important as the message you display. Prior to the digital age, the placement of your print ad was just as important as the ad itself. We still consider placement in digital marketing. When using contextual targeting in your digital campaign, you will be playing into the mindset of the user at the time. Place ads on content that is relevant to your brand. 2/3 of advertisers believe that contextual targeting will be more important in a cookieless environment, which is according to a study conducted in collaboration with Advertiser Perceptions. The contextual solutions that have surfaced are the preferred method of cookieless targeting, since you are meeting your target audience at the right time and in the right context. As you can see on the chart on the right, 95% of marketers are planning to implement contextual targeting in some capacity on their media buys. Now is the time to test these solutions and learn about their impact in your media plan. Next, we will talk about how contextual advertising works. Contextual advertising targets ad placements based on an environment in which the ad appears. Sophisticated algorithms target ad placements based on keywords, website content, and other metadata. The contextual targeting of today is far more sophisticated than in the past. This is due to developments in artificial intelligence and machine learning. These contextual tools are far more precise and efficient than any human can ever seek to achieve on their own. This chart shows a basic overview of the structure of programmatic buying. You can see StackAdapt is on the left-hand side as a DSP, and the advertiser represents the clients that marketing is running media for. On the right side, you can see the publisher, where the ad will be placed, and the ad exchange, which offers opportunities to place bids. The auction for the placement happens in the center between the DSP and the ad exchange. The data providers in the bottom square capture data from different sources, like context, which provides information for the DSP to bid on as a relevant placement or not. We will now talk about campaign strategy and planning. When planning for your campaigns, consider the questions we have listed here. What is the overall path of your user? Do you need to reach them across multiple mindsets to drive your desired outcome? A basic buyer's journey is also outlined on the right. The awareness stage defines a pain point or a problem that the user is looking to solve. Users in the consideration phase are reviewing their solutions to their problem. And finally, users in the decision stage are making their choice. It is important to nurture your audience at every stage of the funnel in order to drive them to your ultimate goal. Analyzing the journey in tandem with the questions above can guide you as to where contextual targeting makes the most sense in your overall plan. You can see StackAdapt's available channels. Building a campaign around a multi-channel approach is essential. When combining multiple channels for your campaigns, you can gain a greater reach by capturing people who are only on some of the channels. You want to meet the client where they are on the web and use intentional messaging on each channel to move the user through the buying journey. Please note that some contextual tools are not available on all channels. Now we will review tips when planning your contextual campaigns. So number one, define your objectives and set clear goals. Setting clearly defined goals and objectives is essential to any campaign. I also recommend aligning KPIs with where the tactic or targeting resides in the buyer's journey. For example, if you are targeting users in the consideration phase of their journey, time on site or cost per engagement would be an applicable KPI. Ensure that you have an overarching goal of the campaign and KPIs at each step of the journey. This allows you to ultimately analyze and determine success with ease. Number two, ensure your ads have engaging ad copy and creatives. Messaging and imagery are key to a successful campaign. Again, consider your buyer's journey and what would be most effective to communicate to them at the time. You don't want to immediately ask for a conversion to a user who may not even be familiar with your brand. Leverage HTML5 ads with motion for more engagement as well. When using creative with contextual placements, consider what message would be effective in that contextual placement. Number three, keep an eye on your KPIs and adjust where needed. Since you initially set clear objectives, goals, and KPIs from the previous steps, be sure to analyze your data regularly. If a tactic is not providing the metrics and success you are looking for, pivot or adjust your strategy. For contextual approaches, ask questions like, should we try a different context? For campaigns that are performing well, increase the budget to drive even more efficiencies. Number 4, execute campaigns across multiple channels. Always use a cross-channel approach in your media plans. Not all users are on one channel, and to drive reach, it is essential to be present on multiple channels. Each programmatic channel has its place in the funnel, from awareness to engagement to conversion. Pick your channel mix based on your vertical, brand, and sales cycle. Also, contextual targeting has a place at all stages of the buyer's journey. And last but not least, number 5, experiment and test new strategies. In other words, as I like to say, test, test, test. I always say we don't know what we don't know. So try new capabilities and strategies with your campaigns. Being flexible and ready to pivot will only make your media campaign stronger. Every target audience is different, so be open to testing to find the right flow and journey for your potential customers. Now we're going to look at some creative examples in a contextual placement. Our first ad is for a set of grilling utensils. The context below is a recipe for grilled salmon steaks. Users who are on this page are considering grilling their salmon and may be interested in a pro grilling set. This is a great example of placing an ad in the correct context for your brand. The next article reviews body weight exercises for your back. You can see an example of in-banner video on the right that is promoting in-motion therapy. If a user is looking to strengthen their back, engaging with a physical therapy company would be beneficial, and they may click to learn more. This is another example of the user being in the right mindset to engage with your brand. This ad is directly related to the context of the article. The last one here shows an ad for lozenges on a WebMD article about coughing. This is completely relevant to the user browsing the content. They are now aware of your lozenge brand in relation to the cough they or someone else in their household may be experiencing. We are now going to look at contextual targeting options within StackAdapt. First is Page Context AI, or PCAI. PCAI uses patent-pending AI technology to create infinitely personal user experiences. PCAI is also available in multiple languages. You are able to target and reach users currently engaging with content about a specific topic, allowing your ad to resonate with that mindset. Placing ads in the right context can increase user engagement by a factor of up to 4 to 10. This is related to psychology, since your user is mentally in the right mindset when you are targeting contextually. You can see an example of input and output on the right side of the screen. Sporting, live sports, etc. was the contextual input, and the placement on Eurosport is on the left. With PCAI, you can reach audiences without cookies and target niche contexts. Next is keyword rule targeting, which is contextual technology where you control the rules. Keyword rule targeting is similar to PCAI, but more strict in regards to how it targets specific keywords instead of the overall context of an article like PCAI. I like to compare this to broad match versus exact match for those who are familiar with search. With keyword rule targeting, you define specific keywords and phrases related to your campaign and assign rules so your ads may be accurately aligned with the right content. With this targeting option, you have full control over placements, drive results without cookies, build positive brand associations, and deliver relevant content at the right moment. Lastly is weather targeting, where you can engage consumers during key weather changes with ads that drive action. Maximize campaign effectiveness through automating your advertising based on local weather conditions and temperature. You can see an example of one brand using 2 types of ads based on the weather condition and the location they are targeting. So it is obviously cold in Toronto, Ontario, in comparison to being warm in Orlando, Florida. And so their context is applicable for the different types of clothing that they are advertising for. To wrap up, here are our key takeaways. Stay ahead of the industry-wide shifts towards cookieless advertising solutions and leverage contextual advertising as a core part of your strategy. Make sure you're always testing new cookieless advertising solutions. Think about your audience's mindset. Place your ads in the right environments and craft your messaging in context of what people are searching, reading, or viewing. Mindset is crucial and can drive advertising success. And then work with a programmatic partner that offers advanced targeting capabilities on the back of machine learning to see efficiency and scale for your media buys. Also work with a partner that is flexible so you can make pivots as you continue to run your media plan. Be sure to download our contextual targeting report, which is in the handout section of the webinar. It will also be sent out to you via email. Now I'm going to pass the mic back to Amanda.
Thank you so much, Ali. So we'd now like to jump into the Q&A portion of the webinar and open up the floor to any questions you might have. So as a reminder, if you have any questions, you can place them in the questions box of the GoToWebinar panel. So it looks like we have several questions coming in through already. So just a heads up, if we're not able to get to yours today, not to worry, we'll follow up directly with you after the webinar is complete. Okay, so a first question, we have a question here about the slides. Will they be shared afterwards? So we will be sharing the recording with all registrants of the webinar, which will contain the slides in the recording. Okay, so next question. What programmatic channels can you run contextual ads on? Is it open to all of them?
Great question. So page context AI and keyword role targeting are available on native, video, and display. Weather targeting works across all channels.
Perfect. Okay, next question. In the beginning of the presentation, it was stated that the target would be website content and other metadata. Can you explain what metadata is being used?
I don't have as much insight into the rest of the metadata, but we can definitely follow up with you after this on some additional information on what else is being used contextually.
Perfect. Okay, next question. Are there any roadblocks we might face with extending reach?
If the context of the keywords that you're using in terms of your input are too tight or specific, you could run into some issues with reach. So you want to consider the user's mindset and be open to some additional contexts that are applicable to your brand. So I always recommend testing as much as you can to find the right approach to also balance with pacing as well.
Great, next question. What are the available options for weather ads, meaning the setup parameters?
So right now, I know that we as a group are working on a bunch of different applications for weather targeting. The ones that I know off the top of my head have to do with temperature, I believe snow, rain. I know that we're looking towards tornadoes and some other applicable options, but we can also send you through the full list after this call.
Perfect. Okay, next question. What brand safety measures do you have available for placements?
So at StackAdapt, we really take brand safety very seriously, and we actually divide brand safety efforts into two categories. So the first one is quality assurance of inventory traffic from exchanges, and that includes that we have IP filters in place, human verification and domain whitelist approaches, and then we have fraud prevention from high-risk traffic sources as well. The other side of brand safety that we support for StackAdapt through StackAdapt is quality assurance of ad serving through ad audits. And we also have an integration with Moat for post-bid analysis. So all of these different layers just shows that really StackAdapt prides itself on ensuring brand safety. We want you to be placing ads in brand safe environments and meeting all of the different rules or pieces that need to be in place in order to serve things legally and accurately.
Fantastic. Okay, next question. What's the best way to do keyword research on targets? And the same question for contextual targeting.
Yeah, those are both great questions. Typically what I recommend, if you're familiar with search and you are receiving some very solid success based on certain keywords, I always recommend starting there. That's a good place. Also, with StackAdapt, we can take your landing page and actually generate some recommended keywords or contextual phrases to use. So either way is a good approach. Reach out to your contact to have them help you with your landing page if you want to pull some that way. Otherwise, like I said, if you have successful phrases and topics that are doing well already in like a search capability, that's another good way to pull keywords to test.
Great. Okay, next question here. Do I need an account rep to test this out, or can I just jump into the platform and launch campaigns?
You are able to actually jump and test this out yourself from a self-serve capability. However, your dedicated StackAdapt rep is always available to support you and answer any questions, so you can do it either way. Like I said, your StackAdapt rep can always point you in the right direction. We also have a lot of great support articles onto how to execute it yourself, but it is available as a tactic to all self-serve customers.
Great. Okay, so I think we have time for a couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap up. So are there specific verticals where contextual in StackAdapt works best, or does it work across any industry?
So contextual can work across any industry. I'm a big proponent of always testing. So like I said, you'll never know what kinds of success of a tactic or targeting strategy, if it will work for you, if you don't test it and analyze the data. So there are articles and contextual placements across all verticals. So I definitely encourage you giving it a try and seeing what success and metrics are driven.
Great. Okay, next question. Is there a way to block negative content? Does StackAdapt have a baseline negative content block?
Yeah, so we have the ability in all of our different capabilities here to exclude certain keywords. So if there's certain, an example of one that I can have right at the top of my head, which is not necessarily a negative keyword, but if you are trying to target visitors to something like a Catalina island, and then Catalina was also the name of an Apple MacBook processing platform, you could exclude Catalina, like Mac, the Apple Mac OS platform, as an excluded word. So that is an option in all of our different keywords and PCAI to exclude negative terms that would not be applicable and where you would not want to run on in the platform.
Perfect. Okay, final question here. What's the main difference between page context AI and keyword rule targeting? They seem a bit similar.
Yeah, so they are similar. They are actually pretty similar. The only main difference is that keyword rule targeting looks for matches of keywords in the content itself when placing the ad, while PCAI analyzes the input for context and more or less reads between the lines to determine appropriate placement. So like I'd mentioned before, if you're familiar with search, it compares to pretty much keyword is an exact match approach, where PCAI is more of a broad match approach. So PCAI does not require a specific keyword to be present like keyword rule targeting does.
Amazing. All right, so thank you so much once again, Ali, for your presentation today. So that concludes today's webinar. Thank you all for attending today. We hope you found it both informative and insightful. We'll be sending out a follow-up email with a recording to all registrants. So please don't hesitate to reach out with any other questions you might have. Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.